There we go. What's up, guys? This is Andrew Smirsick with Combat Art Training. I'm here today with Jared Reston of Reston Training Group. He is going to be doing a class here in a couple weeks at Aries Training Facility in Leesburg, Florida. So if you are not signed up yet, you want to get signed up soon because there's not much time remaining. Jared, would you mind kind of filling in on the type of training you do, kind of your background, and then what this class is about?
Reston, did 20 years in Jacksonville Sheriff's Office in Jacksonville, Florida, on SWAT. I was the lead firearms instructor and senior CQB instructor for that team. We are a full-time team and a very busy team. We're involved in a lot of shit. With that, and so with the course and kind of all training that I've been able to get into and what the agency sent me to, some of it great, some of it not so great. And I feel like we've put together a really, really good program on getting guys ready to go, like for domestic law enforcement or even civilian shooting, and just like really honing in on some basics, but then taking those basics and actually showing you the performance side of things and really getting into it. So you're taking a lot of, I guess, combative side with some of the competition side and melding it into something to make you a better shooter when you leave the course after 2 days.
Yeah, and one thing I haven't got a chance to do yet, but I'd like to thank you now, is after I took your basic red dot pistol course, I grew tremendously as a shooter. It made me a lot better just from seeing kind of the details on how to execute every shot, being more mindful of my shooting, and then giving me different stuff to practice. Because kind of within the circle that I had been training in, it was all fighting based, tactical based, but the performance aspect wasn't really there. So your course was the first one I took. And guys, if you haven't seen it already, I have a interview I did with Jared before. One of the things I talked about in that interview that I like so much is Jared's also open to talking about like his personal experiences in gunfighting. And, one of the things that I mentioned in the video was a lot of places you go to train at, they discourage you, say like you don't want to act, no third party stuff. And Jared very much will talk about the way to actually stop an evil act.
Yes,
the way we're thinking.
Yeah. And typically it's not as bad as people make it out to be. It's kind of pretty easy. Once you got the skills going down, you're pretty good. But and that's the thing is also like, and just like, I've been doing this professionally with Wrestling Group for the past 15 years, but I mean, I've been doing it for 24 years of, carrying guns and doing things. And I also like to talk about, hey, you do this. I've probably been to an instructor who taught that, but this is why I don't do it. It's never like when we jump into things, this is just how it's going to be because I tell you this is what worked for me. It's not, because some things work for me that may not work for you, because it's just how we can work it out. And I want you to be a better shooter as soon as you leave.
Yeah, and like thinking about you within like the different circles that I train in, like I just did a Connect consulting class, teaches reloads completely different than how I teach it, how I do it, but
yeah,
that's okay. One of the things that students need to do is be open-minded. So even you don't know right or wrong unless you do both ways, and going to different classes like that is a part of the education.
Right. And then you just got to look to see, like, sometimes it might feel funny or feel wrong, but your times are better. So you better start hammering that into like that. Then that becomes the way. It doesn't matter how you feel or what you like or whatever. It's this performed better. So I need to make that the way, your way. Does that make sense? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
once you understand how it's going to go, then that's when you got to say, all right, let me dive in and take some time to change what I'm doing. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's what everyone goes to classes for, is to get better, hopefully. It's not just to
Right.
just hang out and be like, oh, well, I trained with this guy or I trained with that guy. And, well, what did you learn? What did you take from him?
Yeah.
So,
Can you name anything off the top of your head that you were initially taught that you went away from later?
a lot of it is like slingshotting my pistol by going over the top. That's like my main one that I don't do. This really aggressive, like shoulder shrugging and like being like my stance has changed totally. Because I got on the SWAT team in 2003, like at the height of Magpul videos, and Chris Costa lived in Jacksonville. He trained on the range. I love Chris. Like, we trained with Chris, and bro, I could flip a magazine over the berm. Like, you know what I mean? But to me, it just never really transitioned to inside a house or fighting around a vehicle, or you're so raw with the target in front of you. I can't shoot the target beside me at the same speed, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to kind of loosen up the body a little bit and get more athletic into it.
Yeah. Not be so tense on it. And I found too that's one thing that actually leads to a more fluid motions.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
And then are you going to be bringing man, it's been so long. Was his name Nick, your
Yeah,
assistant
Nick was
instructor?
my partner.
Okay.
That I mean, I always train with. No, it'll just be me that in Aries, which is going to be
Okay.
great for anybody who's listening now. So we have low numbers in the class, but the class is still going. So get in, and you're going to get a lot of one-on-one time. So it'll be a
Yeah.
great class.
Yeah, ammo's inexpensive. It's only a 600 round class too. So
Yeah,
like some people have that in their bag right now,
yeah, and it's gonna you will leave the class a better pistol shooter, 100%. You're gonna get a bunch of aha moments.
Now, what were some of your favorite training classes that you've taken either on your own or when you were coming up in SWAT?
So, I mean, they're both kind of the same. Like, I would be able to take classes with different instructors. Like, so my favorite instructors, so like my first carbine class I ever took was, the lead instructor was Kyle DeFore, but it was at Blackwater. So that's when
Oh
he was
wow.
like at Blackwater. And I didn't even know, we didn't know who it was going to be, but then me and Kyle hit it off there and we've become friends. Now Kyle runs a great training program. Um, the guys at um, Northern Red have always been really great. Then Zach came off, and now he's with Hades Consulting. Hades Consulting, it puts a jam out product up. Ridgeline Defense, I've actually teamed up with them on a lot of classes, a lot of stuff. That is an amazing facility and just an amazing thing with Ridgeline Defense. That's who I train with like the most now. Dan Brokos of Lead Faucet, they're my people. Chuck Pressburg, Bill Blowers, um, Modern Samurai, Scott Jelinski. These are that's who I choose to train with. Not only because they're great trainers, but they're great human beings, and you can learn something from just being around them as men too. Like, it's pretty good. Steve Fisher's another good one that I like to be with. I'm sure I left somebody off on that list, but like those,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's vast. Kyle Lamb, Viking Tactics, always a great course. Always something to learn from Kyle. Well, Paul Howell from CSAT, he was a great mentor of mine when I started out in this game. He's actually the reason why like wrestling group exists. Like, he was like, hey man, you need to get out there and do some stuff. So Paul Howell was a great mentor like early on and doing great stuff.
Wow, that's something that I really value with the instructors I train with is like guys who are actually taking classes that have taken a lot. It's something that I see with the volume of classes I've been taking, where there's a difference in the way the class is conducted from guys who are still taking classes or who have taken a lot versus guys who just came from military, didn't really do anything outside of that.
Right.
So that's something I really like. Now, one thing I was talking about with John Dufresne was a shooter symposium. I believe I'm saying that right, unless I
Yeah, it is.
remembered it wrong. But I was like, oh man, that sounds like a great time. I looked, I saw you on the list. I saw a bunch of guys that I like. I'm like, oh damn, I need to go to this. And then I looked at the day. I was like, oh, I missed it already.
Yeah.
Would you mind talking about Shooter Symposium as well for
So
everyone?
Shooter Symposium was probably one of the first of its kind and probably the only of its kind. That it's just a really great weekend out at the ranch in Texas. It is 3 days of training. There's actually like on Thursday, there's a competition day and like a vendor day. It would be like almost like I attribute to like a SWAT conference or something like that, but that everybody's invited to. So we have over like 9 instructors, and you can pick and choose what classes you take over those 3 days. But it's all there. You can camp there. We eat there together. We drink there together at night. There's always a bonfire. There's always like a social event at night. It's just something that you'll never get because you'll learn stuff from instructors during the class, but you'll learn also just hanging out with like a core and just listening and just talking to guys. And, it's a less formal atmosphere. So like you can ask the questions that you want to ask and get like what you want to answer. So Symposium is like one of the best venues I think out there. Like it's a really great venue.
I really want to bring something like that to Florida.
Yeah.
Will you help me?
Yeah. So we kind of spun off on that. So like me, Dan Brokos, and Alex Hartman of Ridgeline, we do it in New Hampshire every year. We call it Bash Bros. You know what I mean? It's just like 3 days of just getting it on, and we just take it from pistol shooting to like, up close rifle shooting around vehicles, and then we'll push it, like use the facility and take it out to 600 yards and do crazy stuff. Like not crazy stuff, but just stuff that you can't really do everywhere. So the symposium and like Bash Bros and just things like that, because you get the voice of different instructors right there telling you the same thing. Instead of like, I remember 6 months ago, I took this and I thought you said that or you did that. It was just like, because I mean, if you think about it, really good instructors are saying the same thing. They may be speaking a little bit different language, but they're roughly saying the same things, or they might hit on a few other things that the other one doesn't. It's like when you go to a class and they're teaching you something that you haven't heard at all before, that's when you got to start worrying about like what am I in? You know what I mean? Like that's when you start getting made up stuff.
Yeah. Now what it's called Bash Pros, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Is there a website for that? Because I got some friends in PA that would probably go to that.
Yeah, that's on ridgeline.com, ridgelinedefense.com. And if you go through their schedule, it'll be on the bottom. It's called Bash Bros. And they should get in. It's a great weekend. Like first off, it's September in New Hampshire with the leaves changing. We're in a mountain range. It's like one of the most beautiful settings that you can shoot guns in all day. But the facility, the Ridgeline facility, is amazing.
If someone, I'm gonna tag Nomar. Why don't you go ahead and do it? Can you drop a link for that in the comments? And also, guys, you can sign up for Jared Reston's class at Aries Training Facility with the links that I dropped in the comments. So coming up, I saw. I think you're going to also Iowa soon. What's all on your schedule for the rest of the year?
So we're going to Iowa to do a pistol course and an SBR course. That's another class that I'm teamed up with Ridgeline running the SBR stuff. I'll be in Onalaska, Washington. We're going to do a pistol course and a room clearing, like for civilians, like some CQB for civilians that we're teaching. We're doing the same thing in California coming up, out in LA. I mean, I'd have to look at my schedule to really see where else I'm going. Like, it's gotta go day by day, bro.
Yeah. I even myself, I have to like look at my Google Calendar midweek to see what I'm doing that weekend.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Now I had a couple questions regarding teaching. What is your favorite class to teach?
CQB.
CQB?
Like, I love CQB, like, because that's like the thinking man's part of it. Shooting well only gets you a ticket to the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I just need you to really shoot well so I can do CQB, so I can have you shooting around people and understand that you're going to hit the target that you're aiming at, you know? So, like, I mean, I really like shooting because it's a hobby of mine and I love, but like, really it's a ticket to the show. And I love the movement and working around people and just the predictability and unpredictability of it, that you have to kind of be able to be in that moment and work.
Right. Yeah. Now, one thing I was thinking about was when we had first trained together, something you were talking about in class was like not trying to necessarily get the fastest draw stroke in the world. It's like there's a certain point where you get that. After that, you're trying to be an expedition shooter. So that makes sense to me, hearing that you like to do CQB the most.
Yeah, like for like when we talk about the draw and like par times and stuff, I want you to be as fast as you can be.
Mm-hmm.
But like setting a time, like sometimes, I don't know, and I'm pretty athletic and I've done, but like a sub-second draw and things like that for me is probably not in my cards. I don't know if my reflexes are fast enough or my hand-eye coordination is fast enough. So I'm a 1-2 guy all day long. But,
Mm-hmm.
Can I get down to the 0.9s? Yeah. But it's kind of luck and it's after a lot of warm up, and I'm probably just like indexing. You know what I mean? So I want to be as fast as I can be cold anytime, in kit, in a gas mask, in this, in that. I don't change my times for what I'm in. It's just, it better be under this. That's how I like to think about it. Cause like I always talk about, like, sometimes these guys just have such fast reflexes and they're super fast. And then they're trying to teach people to be like, but I think it's like Superman trying to teach you to fly. You know what I mean? Like, we're just going to go to the top of a building and you're just jumping off and he flies. You know what I mean? Because you don't have that God-given talent to even get that fast. So,
Right.
like, my thing is just, I just want to make you as fast as you can be.
Right. Yeah. And it becomes a thing too. Like I've seen where if you look on Instagram, well, not so much anymore, but it was for quite a while. It was 1R1s as fast as possible,
Yeah.
all day. And then I made a video and people wanted to argue with it, but it was, I see a lot of people doing reloads with a shot timer, but I've never seen anyone do a tourniquet drill with a shot timer.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like there's,
and then like it's kind of like being fast on the draw. There's a lot of people who have like a sub-second draw, but when you ask them to do like a build drill, it's a 1-2 first shot. You know what I mean? Because they don't have the good grip. They don't have, and we're not in the age of dueling anymore. Like, it's gonna be, you're gonna be shooting some rounds. So what your first round out of the draw should be your first round out of the draw in any shot sequence that we prescribe shot sequence. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how we try to push it. And like, that's who you are. It's not that you were able to work and get something for a one shot on a piece of steel from 5 yards away or whatever it is, and just bang and you're done. It better be bang and you better be ready for more, or bang, 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 like right off that. So that's kind of where people put so much emphasis, just like when you're on a target, if you're so worried about that first shot, they tend to not fall right off the bat. So you're going to have to shoot them more.
Right. Well, and another thing I remember from the class we did was you talking about people out shooting their own brain, shooting faster than they can actually process. And you actually, Jared also has videos with surefire field notes and aim point, and then a couple of videos on carry trainer if you want to watch more of Jared. But you talked about that in one of the videos. And one thing I noticed after you had said that is there are some drills out there where you have to shoot faster than your brain can process to achieve that like top level. And I know that's fine, but people should recognize that.
Right. And I'm like, on some things, like on a build drill, like a build drill to me, I will shoot faster than that because I'm testing my grip. I'm testing my stance. Like I'm purposefully taking it off when I'm shooting to that 0.26, 0.27s, so I can let my brain work but that doesn't mean you just ride off like a build drill. But I also think like a target transition drill or something, if it's, whatever to the body up to the head, I shouldn't learn how to do. I don't want to be good at a drill. Yeah. If that makes sense. Like I don't want to train my body to be good at a drill. Like what I want my students to do is when they're done, they can walk up cold, hear a drill, and be like, all right, let's shoot it. And you're going to be a B+, A- shooter, like your first time shooting it, because you understand I have the skills necessary to do this, which I feel transitions way better than because I'm not an exhibition shooter. You're not going to shoot a bunch of drills in my class. You shoot the skills that can make you better for that.
Right. Now, another train question. Where do you see the industry going within the next couple of years? Because there's been like different waves of instructors that have kind of hit ever since, Gunsight was first started. And one thing I'm in particular kind of thinking is going to happen is I think a lot of the internet content you're going to see is going to be a little bit more AI driven, less creativity involved in it. I think also an issue that we may be seeing too. Well, actually, never mind. I kind of think it'll go away, but there was another big wave that happened with 2020 of NRA and USCCA, every other person teaching like an entry class like that. But it was what I was personally seeing was people that haven't done enough training to actually be teaching. But what are your thoughts on what's going to happen in the next couple of years?
I mean, there's always been those instructors, but he has now made them popular but like basic instructors, the industry needs them. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to come to a wrestling group class or like any of the classes that I described earlier. I mean, without a good base knowledge of safety. Because if you're really worried about like being safe and like not being safe, but like that's on your forefront, you're really not going to let your mind go into the performance side of things. Like I always in class, it's about, you have to go to driver's ed before you go to a race car driver. You got to know what the rules are, and then we're going to teach you how to shave and round off corners to take advantage of those rules to get the performance out of it. Not anything dangerous, but just better. Like, and RA or UCA, like, oh, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. Well, cool. You shouldn't do that, but I'm not going to go to the best teacher. I've been doing it 30 years and blah, blah, blah. to learn how to drive a race car. I'm going to go to somebody who does that, you know, and has been there, done that, been on the, and and my performance from. So, I mean, I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, I feel like it's gotten better. I mean, in my realm, like, you know, accuracy's now coming kind of back. Like, we lost it for a little bit when it was all about speed and looking good on a par timer and looking good on Instagram and stuff like that. But now people are really looking at targets now, not just not brass in the air. So you know what I mean? So it's like, all right, cool. So I mean, I think we are in a better place than we were even 5-6 years ago. I think people care about what they're doing, and there's a lot of good instructors out there right now. Always going to be people who think they know something or do something, but you know, it's buyer beware, I guess. Like, research your instructors and go to where you want to go.
Right. Yeah. And for the record, I have no issue with basic classes. Some of the things I saw were dudes who unconsciously, incompetently were not safe, but they're teaching gun safety to someone.
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's going to be that too. People who think they're way better than they are. They like it. But that doesn't make you a good instructor. That doesn't make you an example for safety. It doesn't make you the things that a good instructor does. Like, you know, weapons handling is a huge bit in the class because you're not shooting with a gun in your hand. You're doing something else. So understand where that muzzle's pointed, what you're doing is, if that's a part of being a gunner and a gunfighter or whatever. It's not all about just the shooting all the time. It's not blanking out and understanding where your safety rules are.
Right. Yeah, that's been something I've discussed with my students a lot, is that most of the time when you pick up a gun, you're shooting, you're dry firing, or someone's going, hey, check out the trigger on this thing, right? So it's like you need to actively practice not touching the trigger. So I'd put in a couple of drills where I'm like, you basically get rewarded on the drill if you're not touching the trigger.
Yeah.
Because inherently every time they draw, they're on it, right? They don't shoot every time, but they touch it every time. Now, let me see. Does anyone have any questions for Jerry? Because I know you've had a long day. Does anyone have any questions in the chat? If you do, type them right now. And also, one thing I like from everyone who's watching these live streams I'm doing, go ahead and drop timestamps on anything you think I should turn into a short or a video clip. Let's see. Imagine if you took a driver's ed, from race car drivers, though. Seems like that would be an awesome way to get proficient real quick. Well, yeah, they'll have a deeper understanding.
Well, yes and no. They might be rounding edges that you don't need to know yet. You know, that's like, or just talking. You're more worried about making a left-hand turn. Already talk are up for that left hand. Like, so you're just going to lose a bunch in that. I'm not saying don't do it, like, but I mean, I think a good basic course will set you up to open up your bandwidth so you can absorb what they're saying.
Right.
I mean, you'll get way more out of that class. You know, I have guys. I mean, I had guys on the SWAT team that I've taught for 10 years. And I'm like saying the same thing. And he's like, man, I've been talking about that for, you know, like this was like the 5th time I've said these things. But I mean, it's you have to have the bandwidth and not worried about other stuff, or you know what I mean, like, and to understand like what instructors are saying or get a feel, like, you know, calling your shots. I remember I took classes like, you know, early on, Jerry Barnhart and stuff, talking about seeing bullets go down. I'm like, seeing bullets. And then you see him shoot, and you're like, this guy sees bullets. Like watching that, like I thought I understood what he was saying, but it took years until like I was tracking and being like, now I know what he's saying. So,
right. Yeah. And sometimes you lose an appreciation for things because it's so basic to you now that it's something you don't think about anymore.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Javier, I don't know if he wants to get into personal stuff, but he's asking what part of Jacksonville are you from?
Well, then I worked the city with from Orange Park, worked in Jacksonville, citywide, was on the SWAT team. We're a full-time SWAT team, so we worked all over the city.
Okay, and then Max's Path is asking when you first started, who was one of the most influential instructors for you?
Paul Howe. With that,
Paul Howe?
Paul Howe from CSAT.
Right on. Yeah, I've really been enjoying the content.
Mindset, like I mean, he's just a great human being. To be around a guy like.
Yeah, no, he did a video recently. Did you watch the video he did talking about the Uvalde shooting and the results? He basically said they spent more effort putting red dots on pistols for officers than they did trying to resolve what happened at Uvalde. Did you see that video?
I have not seen that video, no.
Okay. It's an interesting one.
I see what he's saying, because everybody always looks for the hardware solution, not the software solution.
Right. Now, also, one thing I've been noticing is a lot more officers are getting Staccatos 2011s. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I shoot Staccatos. I shoot a Chambers Custom 2011. They are great guns. I mean, they're running. They're doing everything. They've never failed more than my Glocks. I mean, I still carry a Glock too. At some point, when you shoot Glocks, and especially like for accuracy, you'll hit a point. Not all shooters, but a lot of shooters will start out shooting the performance of that gun. And they would need, get away from the striker fire, inherently more accurate. I mean, that's just how just having the trigger going straight to the rear. They're going to be a more accurate pistol or a platform. Do you need to go to it right away? Because guy thing? No, not at all. They are let's just say 25-yard bulls. I've shot hundreds with hundreds more often with my Chambers, and that's only because I'm not doing anything better shooting wise. It's just that gun's inherently more accurate to it. So sometimes when I shoot like a 92 or a 90, I didn't just kind of went out a little bit and just. So for me, like when I'm shooting, like I was talking about, just shoot, all my rounds are in the black on a B8. So yeah, I mean, I do like the 2011 platforms.
Now, so one thing I think about is like, if I were new to shooting, if I got a 2011 a Staccato, I think that would kind of spoil me. Like, I like being able to shoot better with harder to shoot guns. And I've seen it a lot in classes too, where it's like dudes running Staccatos get beat out all the time by dudes running, factory guns like Glocks and stuff. do you think it kind of spoils them if they start off on that?
And there's no Kaido is not going to make you a great shooter. I mean, those guys running the Glocks and the M&Ps and just, you know, they can still shoot. Those guns will work every single time. But if I put a staccato in those guys, will shoot. The guy, you know what I mean? Is it dangerous for you to shoot a 2011 just because you're not that great of a shooter? No. I mean, if that's the pistol you chose, that's the pistol you chose. Get really, really good with it. So, like, I don't, you know, I started with a Glock. I mean, that's just what we were issued. And I shot Glocks forever until, like, you know, the 2011s came out because they just weren't as reliable with magazines. And like, there's really nothing now that says that these guns are finicky.
Okay.
So, like,
we got.
They're not race guns anymore. They're not competition guns. They are duty grade pistols, and you can have confidence that they're going to work.
Right on. Tanner has a question. What general curriculum path or hierarchy should a prepared citizen prioritize for their training? So, like, kind of what things should they get training on in what order?
So, for getting training, so first to me is you know, firearms. Then just make sure your physical fitness is up there. Have some sort of combative training. I don't care if you do jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai, karate, boxing, whatever. Just have some sort of combatives in there. And then, you know, then medical, because you're going to probably use that. If you have a medical kit in your car, you'll roll up on more car crashes or just something that somebody needs something more than you probably will ever need your pistol. And just to be a good all around helpful American, that helps. So, like, that's pretty much my hierarchy is, like, you know, firearms, fitness, combatives, and then first aid. But that's all kind of combatives and fitness kind of all come right there. Like, you know what I mean? Just they're at the top before. You should probably already have that before you pick up a gun. Like, I want you to have that when you're 16 years old. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I get old enough to carry a gun, great, now I can get into this.
Are there any companies that you recommend for medical training?
Yeah, I just forgot Carrie Davis. Dark Angels Medical. I mean, he does a great job. And it's well, like, rounded, you know.
I'll have to check them out too. That's one thing I like to do is take a medical class like at least once a year, and I have not gotten to do one yet this year.
So, and that's another cool thing about, like, Symposium. So Carrie Davis from Dark Angels at Symposium, you know, you do a day with Kim, and then you could do, like, with God, I lost his, like, with combatives.
Craig Douglas.
Like, you do combatives and night work. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's what's really cool about Symposium. You can wrap up like a year's worth of training stuff, like, in one little shot. Boom, let's do this and hang out.
All right. And then Max asked, how much traveling does he do? Does he bring class to the frozen north? So, man, I forget what was the event called that you do up in New Hampshire?
Bass Pros. Bass Pros at Ridgeline. So we'll be in New Hampshire, Max, in September. With that, yes, I'm in PA doing a pistol course in July. I actually am I'm normally traveling all over, so check out the website, Reston Group Training, and just check out our schedule.
Right on. All right, man. Anything else you want to leave them with before we end it?
No, I think we covered a lot. Hope to see you guys. I mean, if we can only get a couple more for that class, it's going to be a great class just because it's going to be actually just like a group of dudes hanging out and shooting all weekend. We'll get some good stuff in. So it'll be a good class in Aries.
Yeah, and this is like the time to train right now too, especially like ammo prices being low.
Yeah.
You know, and if it's a smaller class, man, small classes are honestly my favorite because you get to know everyone better. You get more personal time
Yes.
from the instructors. Like it's the best.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for doing the live stream. Got a couple questions for you after we end it. Guys, the links for the class are the very first links that were posted in the comments. And then I've pinned the Bros Bash also that Gary commented. And that's it. So thank you guys for watching. Keep fighting communism. And remember that train.